How far away do you think we are at that? Not necessarily that it means mass adoption, but where it paves the way for much greater adoption.
Well, I mean, I think that if you take a look at the NFT market was largely fueled by people who were stuck at home and they were bored. They got government checks. They had time to muck around, and then it in 2000, late 2020 or 2021, it took off. And I really think that that was more of a societal function of people being bored, and it was a interesting run up. You might remember when CryptoKitties came out. CryptoKitties came out. CryptoKitties killed Ethereum for a while, and then it died. And then Dapper Labs came and OpenSea and all these folks, and I think that became pretty user friendly. I think though that there's taking NFTs from where they are now into a proxy for ownership in a real world asset. I think that's actually a much greater leap, and it's certainly there's a leap in the contractual legal ownership of the underlying property. So the thing about NFTs is that NFTs themselves are not on chain. Little understood maybe by some, but NFTs are in a server, and the smart contract gives you ownership to that JPEG or PNG or whatever format that's in. So it's already kind of a split experience. And you can certainly copy an NFT, and you can put that up on your wall, and you don't own it. But you can get a representation of it, kind of like a poster of Elvis or something like that.
And the representation being the digital footprint on chain.
Yeah, I mean the only real ownership of the NFT is contractual ownership by the smart contract, and that smart contract just kind of points to a server somewhere, but they're ultimately completely disconnected. And there's you can't jam a gigabyte file onto into an Ethereum smart contract. That doesn't work. Now, as far as using NFTs, and I'm just keeping my comments like super narrow. Gabriel was right. I mean, NFTs right now are not especially useful. They're fun when it comes to real estate, but they're not necessarily useful because the image itself, the NFT image, is not a contract. I think it's really cool for displaying that you own this apartment or a portion of an apartment or a property. It's almost like a certificate of authenticity. I think it's interesting to be used as a digital twin for a legitimate contract.
Yeah.
Which
for the hard asset.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a digital twin. I mean, it's like, hey, look, I got this. I got this trading card. I bought this house, and when I bought this house, I got a little model of the house, or I bought a G650, private jet, and I got a little private jet that I can put on my desk. The possession of that little plastic jet model is not a legal hold on the jet itself, and so if someone steals the jet from your desk, they don't own the actual jet.
But that's actually a good point, because you could have the model jet and then go take a picture with your phone to the real jet, and you could flex and never own it.
Yeah,
and now theoretically, with the NFT, it could be verifiable that at least you own the NFT that represents ownership of the jet or the Maserati or whatever it is. So could provide some extra verification on those that just like flexing.
Now, you can make an individualized, watermarked NFT that represents a fractional ownership in some, amazing property somewhere. And I think that's fun, and I think it's cool. You could conceivably use the NFT if it was like a QR code to access a timeshare, maybe, and say, hey, look, this NFT that I have, which is a QR code. This QR code is requires two-factor authentication back here, but if I have this QR code, I can access this property or maybe an office space or something like that. And if I transfer this to somebody else, I've got to transfer the 2FA functionality so that they can actually access the thing. If they don't have all those pieces, and the contract, they don't own it, but you can have some transferability for it. So, I mean, there's certainly some interesting things some interesting applications.